寝不足を嘆いている場合ではない。エリザベスを問いたださなくては何があったのか真実が明らかになることを祈ろ
う。Detective Poirot, I'm glad you're awake.
アンジェリンちゃん。どうしたの？
Bonjour, mademoiselle. It has certainly not been a night of peaceful sleep.
俺が呼んだ
There
の
is
かな？
something that we must discuss.
Please, detective, I'm not sure I can take any more surprises like last night.
I'm afraid this may be the most upsetting of them all.
You have found Felix's killer, haven't you?
I have. And the guilty party will certainly come as a shock.
Detective, please.
It was Mademoiselle Elizabeth that was behind the Major's death.
You must be mistaken. Elizabeth could not do such a thing.
I assure you I am not. It is something I spent much of last night deliberating. When you spoke of the telephone lines being out of order, it made me question the conversation I thought I had heard Monsieur Sterling make with the Major before connecting the call to him.
But it hasn't been working all weekend.
Exactement, mademoiselle. That is when I knew I had once again been lied to.
She was meant to be resting in the staff quarters. She has not been well.
I am afraid that was yet another lie, orchestrated to keep her from incriminating herself.
そうだろうね。わかりやすかっただろうね。エリザベスだったらね。めっちゃ顔に出そうだもんね。
Why would you think that, detective?
I only managed a few words with her before we were quite abruptly interrupted by Monsieur Sterling.
I must admit, he has a habit of speaking over the other staff.
It was much more than merely disturbing our conversation. It was done with the intention to prevent Mademoiselle saying something that she should not.
So, Elizabeth killed Felix, and then Archibald helped her cover it up?
In its simplest form, oui. I have heard it directly from the horse's mouth.
You have spoken with Elizabeth already? Did she admit to it?
いやー、まだこれからなんよ。
Not Elizabeth, but Monsieur Sterling.
ああ、倉庫の音聞こえなかった？
I wasn't. What were you doing in there, detective?
It was Monsieur Sterling that I found in there. I was taken by some surprise to hear anyone awake at that hour.
What on earth was he doing?
He claimed he was merely reminiscing of his time with the family.
You don't believe him?
なんかちょっとざわざわするんだが。
It did not take long for me to uncover the truth of why he was there and the location of the Major's murder weapon.
隠し部屋のことは知ってたのかな？
Hidden area?
A room that held all of the Major's secrets.
I had no idea. Did you discover the reason for his blackmail?
I did. Were you aware he was dishonorably discharged from the army?
Dishonorably? What does that mean?
ああ、そうだね。できる限り配慮して伝えるようにしよ
Yes, Gideon told me about the conversation you had. It is really quite upsetting.
Zachariah was adamant of the Major's cruelty during the war, but the extent was not known until now. He killed a number of prisoners, men that were friends of Zachariah.
Surely not. He would not do such a thing. They must have been trying to escape.
I am afraid not. They were in fact unarmed.
Oh, detective.
It is the reason he was discharged, denied his military pension, and I believe the reason he fled England.
He had been such an important part of my life for so long, but I feel like I hardly knew him.
そうだね。めっちゃかばってるよ。
Innocence? You said it was she that killed him.
It was her hand that held the knife, but he was quite insistent it happened in self-defense.
In all of the years I have known her, she has barely even raised her voice. I cannot believe she would do something like that out of malice.
The whole truth cannot be known until Mademoiselle Elizabeth has told her story.
そうだね。本当だよ。さあ、お話を伺う時が来ましたと。
Will you allow me to be present?
一緒に来るの？
I think that is an excellent idea.
そっ
I
か。
hope your presence will calm her and will perhaps allow her to speak more freely.
じゃあ一緒に行こうじゃあ。
Please, detective. I know she has done a terrible thing, but I beg of you to give her the time to explain herself.
もちろん。
I will offer Mademoiselle Elizabeth the fair trial that she deserves, as I would with any suspect.
Thank you, Detective Poirot.
Would you bring Mademoiselle Elizabeth to the study where we will not be disturbed?
Of course, I'll find her immediately.
エリザベスと少佐の間に起こった出来事については、ムッシュ・スターリンからすでに聞いた通りだろう。少佐がエリザベスさんを襲い、命の危険を感じさせるほどに追い詰めていなければ、彼女があのような真似はしなかったに違いない。そうだろうね。少佐がエリザベスさんを襲い、命の危険を感じさせるほど追い詰めていたけど、彼女は、そりゃそうだよ。そうだね。まずは耳を傾けよう。
Mademoiselle Elizabeth, merci for joining us.
Miss Angeline said you requested to see me urgently.
We have some serious matters to discuss, and I would like to waste no further time.
Oh, yes, Detective.
まあ、最初はね。
Still not quite myself.
I was surprised when Monsieur Sterling hurried you to assist Madame Vandenbosch last night.
I should not have avoided my duties for so long. The house does not stop because I'm feeling a little under the weather.
That is true, but you cannot be expected to complete all your tasks if you are not in the right frame of mind.
Honestly, Detective, it was best for me to not sit and wallow anymore.
いや、まだまだ
Have you been able to uncover who the blackmailer is?
The blackmailer's identity has been established, and they will pay the price for their crimes.
Wonderful news, Detective. You can put it all behind you now. You must be thrilled.
I would not say thrilled, knowing that such a close friend has betrayed us.
Mademoiselle is correct. What I have learned over this weekend is that people are not always as they appear. While they may give an impression of being a friend or ally, they can in fact be something completely different.
And, what of the Major's killer?
Well, Mademoiselle, that is why I have asked you here now.
そうだね。まだちょっと上
I'm
行こ
not quite sure what you want me to say, Detective.
う。心臓がざわざわする
Your
ぜ。
honest opinion is all I ask, and, s'il te plaît, do not hold back. No one else felt it necessary.
We only spoke when there was something in the house to be done. We did not speak of interests or pastimes.
なるほどね。
You knew of his work with Monsieur de Silva?
I only know what is required of me to know, and that is very little.
But you were aware of his work as security at Monsieur de Silva's factory.
I was.
The factory your beloved Luke worked at before he was cruelly taken from this world.
Yes, Detective.
うん。最前線にいたんだよね。
Yes, that is where he spent his last moments. Standing shoulder to shoulder with his fellow workers.
The resulting riots were a terrible tragedy, one that I hope we will not have to see or experience again. Something that could have been avoided had the Major and his team done what was required of them.
うん。
Nobody deserved to die that day. Not my Luke.
彼の死は少佐のせいだと思いますか？
Detective, what kind of question is that?
It is a straightforward one.
He...
Mademoiselle, if there is something you wish to tell me, now is that time.
I'm sorry, Detective, I just don't know how to answer it.
Let us consider what we know of the Major. He fronted the militia that attacked the workers at the strike. You were aware of this? You finally had someone to blame for Luke's death. Someone conveniently located in the same house, alone in his study.
No, Detective. It wasn't like that.
お
Tell me what happened with the Major on the evening of his death.
I was only in here trying to prove what I heard Mr. Beckers say. I was going to report him, I swear. Miss Angeline, you believe me, don't you?
ヒューゴが言っていたことを確かめようとしていて彼に報告するつもりだった。ふんふん。
I want to. I am still trying to understand it all myself. Why don't you start from the beginning?
I was delivering Miss Angeline's dress to her room when I heard Mr. Beckers arguing with the Major in his study. They were ever so loud. I thought the whole house would have been listening to what they were saying.
まあこの話は、いつだったか聞いたこともあるよね。
Mr. Beckers was talking about the factory strikes and how it was the Major's fault. He told him that if he didn't own up to his crimes, he would go to the newspapers.
うん。
I cannot imagine the Major would have taken kindly to Monsieur Becker's threat.
うん。
He didn't. He called him some rather uncouth names before Mr. Beckers left and went downstairs, and made sure to keep out of sight. After the altercation between the Major and Master Gideon, you went to speak with him outside, and I thought I could look around his study without anyone knowing. I had to know for sure. If it was true, he deserved to be held accountable.
うん。
And did you find the proof you are looking for?
I found a payment from Mr. De Silva, but there was nothing incriminating about that. I was so nervous. I felt like my heart was beating out of my chest.
うん。
And then you saw the blackmail note.
I recognized the writing on the envelope. I couldn't believe it. How could he do such a thing to Angeline? To the family that had taken him in?
うん。
Common sense would determine the Major was another victim of the blackmailer.
If I'd have used common sense, I wouldn't have been snooping around alone in his study in the first place.
そうね。
I heard the footsteps in the hall, and before I could move, the Major was standing in front of me, demanding to know why I was going through his belongings without permission. I tried to come up with an excuse, but nothing came out, and when he saw the letter in my hand, it was like Dr. Jekyll turning into Mr. Hyde.
うん。
I tried to move around him towards the door, but he hurled something towards me, and it crashed against the wall.
なるほど。少佐がナイフを投げて壊れたのか、あれは。
That would explain the damage to the wall.
ねえ。
I froze. I have never been so scared in all my life. I thought he was going to kill me there and then.
うん。
And you thought you would beat him to it.
Oh, Detective, you make it sound as though I had it all planned.
うん。
He lunged forward and grabbed me by the arm. I tried to push him away, but he was too strong. His grip just got tighter and tighter.
うん。
If only you had seen the look in his eyes, I dared not even scream.
うん。
I saw the sheath on his belt. I didn't know what else to do. I didn't want to hurt him, but he wouldn't let go of me.
うん。
So you took your opportunity to put an end to it all.
I just wanted to get him off me. I didn't want to hurt him. I reached for it and I jabbed it at him. His grip instantly loosened and I ran straight out the door and didn't look back.
You did not even look to see what state you had left him in?
She had just been attacked, Detective.
Oui, please. Continuez.
I ran down to the pantry looking for Rahana. She took one look at me and knew something was wrong. I explained to her what had happened and she went to find Archie. She said he would know what to do.
レハナはアーチボルトを探しに行った。
We went back to the study, and he was still lying there, motionless. Archie said that no one would believe me. That if someone like me killed someone like him, I would be sent straight to the gallows. He left the letter so you would find it. He said that if people knew what the Major was really like, then they wouldn't care what happened to him.
So I am to believe that it was Monsieur Sterling and Mademoiselle Rihanna that cleaned the scene and orchestrated a plan that included a fake telephone call and dressing as the Major so that he may be seen. You had nothing to do with that.
なるほど、どうなんだい？
I swear I had no idea that is what they had done. Archie just told me to stay out of sight. I am no master criminal.
Then Monsieur Sterling and Mademoiselle Rihanna will be charged for obstruction of justice and impeding my investigation.
Please, Detective, they were only trying to help me.
If they wished to help you, they should have brought all of this to my attention immediately instead of committing more illegal acts.
Surely you haven't forgotten what happened with Florette. She was only accused of stealing a bracelet. I killed a man.
It is a day I have not forgotten, mademoiselle, even for a moment.
Without your help, I don't stand a chance. Please, Detective Poirot, you are the only one that can help me.
Oh, Elizabeth, why didn't you come to me?
I didn't think you would believe me. I felt so guilty. And when it was announced yesterday that he was a victim of the blackmailer, I wanted to tell you everything. I came to find you last night, Detective, but Archie stopped me. I'm sorry.
新しい会話がアンロック。この謎を解き明かそう。ようやくここで私がこう動けるようになったんだね。もうずーっとずーっともうなんかなんだろう、もうボタンを押したらあっちに飛ばされ、こっちに飛ばされだったから、久々になんか自分の足でこうやって歩いたような気がしたよ。なんかここに落ちてるし。いやー、もうちょっとなんかこう、ちょっと待って。いろいろありすぎて。いや、もう、本当にこのまんまの感じなのかよ、これ。殺人事件の真相を追って。1、エリザベスは少佐が逃げず彼を刺した。この話の裏を取ることができるか。エリザベスは復讐を目論んだのかもしれない。彼女は復讐を望んでいた可能性がある。この話の裏を取る。襲われた裏を取るのっていうのは難しいんじゃないかな。まあ復讐を目論んだのかもしれないってことだよね。 あ、ここと繋がるんじゃない？
I should not be
ほら。
surprised by my own skills of deduction.
ねえ。エリザベスの話はマーゴの死を裏付けるものだ。身を守ろうとした抗議が原因だったよっていうね、ことだね。ついに少佐が殺された事件を解決した。正直に言うと、マドマーゼル・エリザベスが殺人犯だったと明かすのは気が進まないし、彼女がそのような行いをする羽目に陥ったことが残念でならない。本当だよ。本当だよ。エリザベスは自分を守ろうとして少佐を殺した。なんかもう、仕方のないことだよね。ほんとね。これは話せばいいのかな？
Oh, yes, detective.
少佐のナイフはどこに？
I don't know where it is.
そうだろうね。
If you have been honest with me until now, I ask that you continue.
I'm sorry, I really don't know. Archie dropped it out of the study window and he said he would deal with it. I couldn't bear to touch the thing.
まあそうだろうね。反応から判断してマドマゼル本当にナイフの行方を知らないのだ。彼女は自分のしたことを隠すためにムッシュ・スターリングとマドマゼル・レハナがどれだけどうしたのか知らないでいる。そうだね。アーチボルトが彼女のためなら何でもすると言ったのは嘘ではなかったと。私の部屋で、ちょっとお待ちくださいと。
Please, I was only protecting myself. I didn't want to hurt him. He just wouldn't let me go.
Oui, mademoiselle. I know. Mademoiselle tells quite the harrowing story.
I cannot imagine the Major acting in such a way. But Elizabeth could not make up such a story.
After learning what I have about the Major's character this weekend, I would not question the lengths he would go to in order to keep his secret hidden. I know that you share a close bond with Mademoiselle Elizabeth, but you cannot allow your personal feelings to taint your belief of what took place.
She has committed a terrible crime, but she will live with that for the rest of her life. She is not a cold-blooded killer.
If what she says of the Major's attack is true, she acted in self-defense. And in the law's eyes, a crime has not been committed. I will do everything I can to make sure her story is heard and a fair trial is conducted.
頼んだぞ、ほんとパーロー。おそらく真実だろうと。なるほどね。いや、もう仕方なかったってことだよ、だから。わかるよ。もうすべてわかるよ。なるほど。タイが到着するまでもうしばらくはかかるだろう。
Mademoiselle, it is time I address the house.
さあ、全員と話す
Are
時が
you
来たと。
sure? What will you say? What if they do not listen?
I can assure you, they will.
保証します。
Elizabeth was right, though. She's just a servant. What if they...
Mademoiselle, when Detective Poirot speaks, they will listen.
私の演説能力にかかってるって感じだね。
Would you ask the guests to convene in the library?
Of course. And what of the staff?
I have told Monsieur Starling to remain in the staff quarters with the others. When the authorities arrive, they shall be dealt with. You have been of great help to me throughout my investigation. And now that it is over, I have one final request.
You only need to ask.
While I am speaking with the guests in the library, would you watch over Mademoiselle Elizabeth in my room?
そうね。
You don't think she will try and escape, do you?
そんなことは思ってないよ。
In her position, I do not know what she might try. But I trust with you there, any potential ideas of such a thing will be squashed.
チャプター9。結末。
Detective, you have spent more time making us sit and wait for you than anything else.
Madame Van den Bosch, if you think I have spent my time focused on anything besides uncovering the Major's killer, you are sorely mistaken.
I'm sure you will be eager to share your findings with us then.
All in good time, Madame. Firstly, to understand the truth of what has occurred this weekend, one must know the timeline of events that not only preceded the Major's death, but succeeded.
We are all well aware of what happened before, Detective. You can save your breath.
You are only aware of what the guilty parties wanted you to believe, but now I shall apprise you to the true events. The reason for us all being here, you know. The altercation between Monsieur Demire and the Major, you know. The body of Monsieur Hagen was found while we were all sat enjoying a most delicious meal. That you also know. But what was kept from us all was that his body lay on the study floor for far longer than was thought.
It was that servant. She found him.
S'il te plaît, monsieur. It was indeed young Inga that found the Major's body lying lifeless in the study.
So it was her.
Monsieur, I will not allow for any further interruptions. I return to the Major's body. If we are to believe the scene that we were presented with, the Major must have been killed during the first course of our meal, a meal that none of you left, even for a moment. Speaking in the evening, you all confirmed one another's alibis, and although there was doubt in the validity of some, I confirmed that they were indeed all true. What I could not understand was how a man came to be found dead, and every guest accounted for at the time of death. That is until I questioned the latter. Monsieur Beckers, I shall now allow you to speak. You saw the Major smoking a cigar in the snow. Is that true?
It is.
False. You saw what you were meant to see. Someone in the Major's coat standing outside, giving the illusion that the Major was still very much alive. Monsieur da Silva, on the afternoon of the Major's death, do you recall hearing a telephone ring?
Now that you mention it, I have not heard a single ring all weekend.
Correct. The telephone lines have been down for the duration of our stay, meaning the telephone call that was received and promptly directed to the Major's study was yet another act of trickery and deceit. But it did not end there. When I entered the study for the first time, it was obvious someone had already been there and falsified the scene to stage a burglary and clear away important evidence, including the murder weapon. What followed was an investigation that had already been hindered. But even those lengths were not enough to derail me for long.
I think we have all had enough of your self-praise, Detective. Perhaps you would like to tell us who killed him now?
Madame, as I'm sure you would expect, it is not as simple as that. What many of you do not know is the discussion that was had between the Major and Monsieur Beckers earlier that day.
What has that got to do with anything? I told you I didn't kill him.
That I know to be true. What you do not know is that it was not only his ears that heard your spoken words.
I hope you are not implying I had something to do with it.
No, madame, there was another. Mademoiselle Elisabeth. You are all aware that the Major was hired by Monsieur da Silva to front the security during the workers' strikes. What very few of you know is that it was the Major's order that instigated the vicious attacks on those unarmed men and resulted in numerous deaths, including Mademoiselle Elisabeth's fiancé, Luc. Monsieur Beckers confronted the Major, declaring that he was to hand himself in. That is what Mademoiselle Elisabeth overheard. Now, knowing the truth, she waited until the Major was away from his study. After he stepped outside following the confrontation with Monsieur Demire's fist, it looked to be the perfect opportunity, or so she thought. The Major returned and found her looking for the proof she required to hand him over to the authorities.
If the maid bumped him off, why hasn't she been arrested?
The events that followed in the study are not those of a cold-blooded murder, but one of a young girl that had no other option but to protect her own life.
Sounds to me, Detective, like you have taken a shine to this young girl and would rather protest her innocence than arrest her for murder, the crime she has committed.
Jeez, this is gonna make for a juicy story.
Mademoiselle, I ask you this. You have seen the Major's anger before, oui?
What if I have?
How do you think he would have reacted if someone was to find proof that he had committed a terrible act, and that if made public, would surely result in his incarceration? Exactement.
It is quite the story you have told, Detective, but all I have heard is that Elizabeth overheard a conversation blaming the Major for her fiancé's death, and she murdered him in revenge. A servant killing a man that is as revered as he was. She will face the noose.
I am not denying that a man has lost his life, but it is not the crime of murder that you all believe. While the Major did not deserve to die in such a way, it was his actions towards Mademoiselle Elizabeth that drove her to defend herself in any way she could. Mademoiselle Elizabeth will be punished, but we will let the law decide the severity of her punishment.
She has played you like a fiddle, Detective, acting the innocent victim. She will be arrested and hanged for her crime, like every other cold-blooded killer.
Here.
Give her what she deserves.
The girl has got to pay for what she's done.
ずいぶんだね、皆さん。ずいぶんだね。ねえ。だいぶ丁寧にポアロは話したつもりではいるとは思うが。そうだね。判決に悪い影響を及ぼすことなどあってはならないからね。彼らの過去の行動こそがこの不幸な状況を生み、多くの命が失われて元凶など理解させてやる必要がある。そうだ。ここからが私の出番だ。そうだね。思い出させてやれ。
Those of you that are calling for the hanging of Mademoiselle Elizabeth, have you forgotten the roles you played? Your actions have been far from innocent.
本当だよ。
Look, Detective, I see where you are going with this, but it's not going to work. So maybe the strikes were down to De Silva and Beckers. But don't try and drag me into their mistakes.
なるほど。ここから攻防戦が始まるわけだな。全員と。なるほど。でもそれはうまくいかないわ。多分ストライキの責任はダ・シルバとベッカーズの責任だと言いたいんでしょ。でも私は二人の間違いに巻き込まないようしてほしいわね。言ったな、お前、マジで。
If you are so confident of your innocence, perhaps we should begin with you.
じゃあ今日お前から始めるじゃないか。自身の関与を認めさせないのは容易ではない。彼女は強い女性だ。以前質問を交わされたことも。おそらくもっと攻撃的な姿勢が有効だろう。もう教団だ、教団。球団だったかな。ねえ、あなたは特大のためならほぼどんなことでもするのでしょ
You don't need to imply it's only me that does. Ask any of my journalists, they'll say the same.
Even if in the process people are hurt?
どうなんですか
You knew the situation surrounding the strikes and only sought to swell the anger in people and create further chaos.
そう、十分予測できたとね、言ってはいたような気がするからね。
Mademoiselle, you so often have something to say. Now is not the time for silence.
You really are delusional.
Maybe you should just keep your theories and claims to yourself.
あなたは自分の意図のために他人を利用してもその余波など考えもせずに、利益のために他者の命を犠牲にするような業界に詳しくなるつもりはありませんので。これは、これどうなんだこれただの、これは非難だもんね。強引に行った方がいいような気がするな。どうなんだろうな。非難だと違う方に行っちゃわないかな。
You obviously have no idea what goes on in my world. I would say stick to honest police work, but it seems that it's not in your field either.
言うじゃないか。いや、苛立ちはいらない。あなたは S なことをしていると正直に認められませんか？あなたは確か命を落とすのを傍観し、その背中を堂々と踏みつけて歩いています。これだね。
Look, it's...
Mademoiselle, I do not have time for your excuses. Do you wish to state your direct involvement, or should I?
どうなんだ？
It's not... Okay, fine. Yes, the story was going nowhere. There was a deal on the table, and it was going to be done and dusted. Everything you said is true. I wanted the story. The scoop that would have blown the others out of the water. I never wanted anyone to get hurt. But I can see what I did wasn't right. I didn't think you had this side in you. I can see now why Angeline asked for you personally. You're not like other cops. It's clear it's the law and doing the right thing through and through with you. You
すごい
say it
ね。
was self-defense? I believe you.
すごいね。ずいぶん、あれだね。もう尊敬の念に変わってしまったみたいな感
We
じだね。
can't just forget what that girl has done. It's not Jackie's fault or any of ours that she decided to do what she did.
あの子は何しか目をつぶるわけにはいかないんだと、この野郎、お前、ヒューゴ、この小心者のくせに、お前。本当に。あれはジャッキーのせいじゃない。あの子は自分がやろうと思ってやったのです。僕らのうちの誰かのせいではない。
Monsieur Beckers, you are the last person I expected to defend Mademoiselle Conrad.
本当だよ。
We talked only last night, and correct me if I am wrong, but you have already declared the role you played. To me, at least.
あなたからすでにご自分の果たした役割を聞いていると思うのですが。
Yes, we talked. It's just not fair of you to attack Jackie like that, putting words in her mouth until she succumbs to your plan.
お前が言うことじゃないだろう。お前がサインしときゃよかっただけの話なんだ、バカ誰がお前。昨日の話の中でベッカーズはストライキと暴動を見て自分が果たした役割を認めていた。だがそれはあの場だけのことだったようだ。もう本当にまたお前自分をでかくしようとしてるな、お前。そうだね。致し方ないか、じゃあ。まあ上かな。で、あなたは、でも下もいいな。だからこれはジャッキーのことだよね。ねえ、ジャッキーのことをそんな風にね、言ってあげてるけど、その人物にお前、踊らされてたんだぞっていうことだよね。ねえ。
Detective, I'm afraid you're misunderstood. That is not how it was.
じゃあどういう話なんだ
It
よ。
was not my intention for things to escalate as they did. I could not have predicted that would happen. Jackie was documenting everything to do with the strikes. She wanted our story to be heard and wanted to know how I was handling the negotiations.
なるほど。
And they were handled by yourself?
Naturally. If I cannot handle simple negotiations, I am not fit to be in the position I am in.
なるほど。自分で言う、お前それ。なるほどね。コンラッドはあなたのあらゆる決断を揺さぶり影響を与え操作しましたね。まあ多分ここでこれ言ってもみんながいる前だと譲らねえんじゃねえかな。 昨日言ったことをこいつに認めさせるっていうパートだよね。いや、難しいよね、これね。どっちだろうな。これだとみんなの前で恥かきたくないから、なんかこう、ふざけんなみたいな感じになりそうな気がするけどな。こっちだかな、俺は。
I was only pushing for what my men deserved, what they needed.
なるほど。
Hindsight is a wonderful thing, detective. Surely you must know that.
わかんねえよ。
Nothing is ever simple, detective. I'm sure you understand that better than anyone.
あんたが客人の前で詳しく話したくないのは理解できます。ですが、正しいことをなすためには全ての真実を知る必要があるのです。これかな。
You're right, detective. I have tried so hard to deny my part, but I know only too well that my decisions led to the death of those men.
よかったよ。再認識してくれて。
I know I cannot excuse what I've done. I just want you all to know that I am not a hateful or malicious man. I only wanted to prove that I was the right man. I have lived in other shadows for so long. I thought I would be able to finally step into the light and be the one that everyone remembered, not forgot. Monsieur da Silva offered me a deal and I turned it down. I thought I was doing right by the workers, but it was only myself I was thinking about.
偉いぞ、ちゃんと言えて。
What more proof do you need? He said it himself. I made a generous offer to reach a resolution, and he turned his nose up at it.
次はエルネストか、お前。自分で言ったら、俺は解決を目指して寛大な申し出をしたと。
It was not that simple, though. Oui, an offer was made, but Monsieur Beckers and the workers would never have been forced into that position had their working conditions been satisfactory to begin with.
その通りだよ。
This is outrageous! Do you plan on blaming everyone for doing their jobs? I suppose it makes you feel better about yourself, doesn't it?
随分感情的になってくるじゃないか、エルネスト、お前。エルネストは最終的には全てを告白したものの、脅迫状の問題については身構えた態度だった。それにあれは第三者がいない私的な会話だった。彼が他の客人の前で口を開いてくれるとは思えない。自分の過ちをもう一度認めてもらう必要があるだろう。ねえ、まあ上が良さそうな感じはするよね。下は自分の行動性とこうもつまらない努力をするので聞いたことがありませんね。これだと事態は悪化しそうなんだよな。でも上で言ったことは、今まさにこの1個前で俺が言ったことなんだよね。どっちがいいんだろうな。上な気がするけど、あえての下かな。自分の行動生活、こうもつまり聞いたことがありませんね。ここはさ、まあ侮辱というか、ちょっとお前がそれ言う権利あんのみたいなね。あんなことしといて、みたいな。だからこれだと多分一個前の話ぐらい弱いんですよ。こっちじゃない？
Me and my decision.
嘘。
Detective, you are really clutching at thin air.
なるほど。喧嘩越しで言ったのはダメだったかな。
I am a successful businessman, and I had nothing to do with the Major's murder. If you think otherwise, maybe you have proved us all right that you aren't the great detective you claim to be.
よう言うじゃないか、お前。いやいやいや、もう私は誇りですよ。
I'm the next target, am I? You are certainly not making any friends here, detective.
これ多分ね、一個間違えたから多分何やってももうダメなんだよね、多分ね。
Whatever you have to say, we have known each other for years, and it will take more than a young, cocksure detective to waver their support of me.
Monsieur da Silva, you seem to have forgotten our previous conversations.
I recall them just fine, thank you. A police officer trying to manipulate facts to fit his own agenda. Shocking.
従業員の虐待は民法を雇って検査した件がそうだとこっちじゃない
Is that what you plan to do? Accuse us all of something
もうやっぱ多分何やってもダメなんだろうね。
That we agree to allow the girl to walk free.
The events that led to the Major's murder are not as simple as you have tried to convince yourself. I have uncovered what initiated both the murder of your workers and of the Major. It is you that refuses to accept the truth.
Apparently anyone can become a detective now. I really don't know how you gained your title.
これこうなっちゃったらどうなるんだ
Through
ろ
order and...
Order? There's no order in beating down who you consider suspects until they have no other option but to admit something, guilty or not.
Monsieur da Silva, you have stood steadfast, and your opinion on your involvement...
Detective, you would do well not to anger my friends.
う。
It was not my intention. I only want those responsible to be held accountable for their actions. The Major's death does not fall on one person alone. Does your position on Mademoiselle Elizabeth's guilt remain the same?
これエルネストダメだったけどどうなんだろう俺。
Even after all your attempts, Detective, Felix was still murdered. Self-defense or not.
これこのまま進んでっちゃうのかなもしかしたら。
She knew what she had done was wrong, and she will be punished for it.
あの子は間違ったことをした自覚があったからこそ自分の行いを隠すことにしたのです。彼女はその罰を受けるべきです。フェリックスはやはり殺されてない正当防衛だろうと何だろうとあの子は間違ったことをしてる。
It was not choice to hide anything, madame. If in her position, I ask, what would you have done? The Major has already furiously thrown an object at you, barely missing your head, and now has hold of your arm.
I wouldn't have driven a knife into him, that I can tell you for sure. She is no fool. She intended to kill, not to defend.
それはちょっと時期尚早だな。これやり直しが効かないパートなのかもしれないな、もしかしたら。彼女も私の手法は有効だった。マドモゼルエリザベスに選択の余地はなかったと理解してもらうには、少佐の行動が彼女の対応を招いたなど納得させなければならない。少佐の行動は彼女、そうだね。そうだね。ここだよね。週末に皆さん聞いた話だった。無遠慮。なるほどね。確かに、どうだろうな。マダムだったら知ってますよねって言ったらさ、そんな失礼なみたいな感じになっちゃうよね。こっちじゃない？嘘ダメ？ダメか。
So, even you confirm he had a history of aggression.
いや、もうこれ上行っちゃえばいいんじゃないかな。いや、でもダメかな、こういうの。どうなんだろう。いや、ちょっとなんかもう一気にダメになってきたな、俺。
The Major shot and killed a number of unarmed prisoners as they were bound and terrified, posing no threat. His actions are unforgivable and should not be defended by anyone.
You judge him so harshly, but I return the question. What would you have done in his position?
何にもしねえよ。
He had made mistakes. I will not deny that. In those moments when a decision had to be made, it fell to him, and he did what he saw fit.
なるほどね。良くない判断を下したのが一度なら間違いでしょう。ですが二度となればそれは選択です。うん、そうだね。そうだね。こっちに、マダムの話に持ってった方が良さそうな気がしてきたね。なんか一般論でいくと論破されちゃうね。否定してもまたなんか、だから多分、マダムの方に行かないといけないね、多分。
S'il te plaît, madame. I ask that you consider everything you know of the Major carefully.
My friend has been murdered in cold blood, and you have the gall to ask me to save her.
でもやっぱ一回間違えちゃ全部ダメなんだね。
I will see to it that your superiors know of your crooked tendencies and wavering morals.
また私は左官されてしまうのか。
Elizabeth will hang for this. There is no more a fitting punishment for her crime.
I knew that you had a cold heart, but never would I have expected to see you turn on a young girl so cruelly.
若い娘にそこまで辛く当たるとは思いもよらなかったわ。これはマーゴがねえ、マダムのことを言ってくれてるのかな？
Excuse me?
She may have been the one that held the knife, but look at the monster that stood before her. It could not be clearer the type of man. No, I shall refrain from offending men everywhere. The type of creature that he was.
マーゴが味方してくれている。
He bribed, he extorted, he murdered. And yet when he attacks a young girl and she does us a favor and stops him for good, she is punished.
I'm sorry, Margot, but I am struggling to understand why you have involved yourself in this affair.
Because that girl does not deserve your judgment. You should be ashamed of yourself. You all should be for allowing this to happen.
まあそうだよね。マーゴは全部知ってるわけだもんね。
Countess, I have talked at length of the Major's death, but not the reason for my invitation in the first place.
そっか、言ってなかったん
When I
だっ
last
け？
gathered you all together, I spoke of a blackmail ring that was rife in the area, and then of the letter that the Major had received. Mademoiselle Angeline requested my help personally after she received such a letter threatening her family name. She felt I was the only one that could uncover the truth. And uncover the truth I have.
Get on with it, detective. Who dared try and extort my family and then have the gall to allow me to welcome them into my home?
If it was not for the honesty of a young servant, I would perhaps still be looking for the cup.
For goodness sake, it was me.
自分から。
Margot, how could you?
While it looked as though the Countess was helping the young women at the shelter, she was in fact only finding them positions of employment in wealthy homes to gather information on them and learn secrets that she would ultimately be able to use against them. Monsieur da Silva fell victim to her network of moles and was in turn blackmailed. It was quite the prosperous setup you had, knowing that they would not be prepared to lose their social standing if a secret was to find its way from where it had been hidden for so long.
That cannot be true, Margot. How could you do such a cruel thing?
That is rich, coming from you.
You are one of my oldest friends.
High and mighty, Madame van den Bosch. You think you can do what you wish when you wish it and there will be no repercussions. You are as bad as all of them.
If I do not get a straight answer out of you, I will march you to the police station myself.
I'm surprised it took the Major this long to start living with you. He must have been on the edge for some time.
How dare you speak to me like that? In my own home.
A home you share with the father of your daughter for so many years, and she still remains none the wiser.
You have no right.
なんだ
Maman,
Angeline? Have you heard what she has admitted to? She is merely trying to make herself.
is what she says true? Felix, he was my father? That is the secret that the letter was talking about, isn't it? You told me that we had nothing to hide. Detective Poirot, were you aware of this?
Oui, mademoiselle. But it was not my place to repeat.
I don't understand. What about father?
Your maman betrayed the love of a good, honest man and played away behind his back, and then kept it hidden for all these years like a lady of the night with her client list.
You will say no more. Angeline, I.
Did Felix know?
This is not an appropriate conversation.
He knew, dear girl. He knew the whole time. It is only dear Edwin that was blind to their deceit.
You will not talk of him like that. You will not talk of him at all.
If I don't, who will? You never deserved him. You don't even deserve the memory of him.
Countess, there is something that you still have not explained.
What more is there for her to say?
How long were you in love with the Viscount for?
Margot? Is that true?
We were destined to be together. And then you turned up. And I was all but forgotten about.
But you were nothing more than friends.
And you made sure of that, didn't you? From the day you arrived, it was all about what you wanted and what you had to do to get it. You didn't consider Edwin at all. He was just a purse to you.
I loved my husband, and I miss him every day.
Loved him enough to stray?
Both of you, no more!
Please, Angeline, let me explain.
Maman, I do not wish to hear anything else from you.
Not even your own daughter wants to hear your lies anymore. Cassandra Van den Bosch, all alone.
How dare you!
While I feel a sense of satisfaction and pride in solving both cases, there is still a part of me that is reluctant to revel in triumph. I am content with the unmasking of Comtesse de Vos as the blackmailer, and knowing that she will pay for her crimes. But it is the justice for Mademoiselle Elizabeth that worries me. She will stand in a court of law, and I can only hope that they can see she acted in self-defense. I must trust that our legal system and justice will prevail, and a fair sentencing will be given. In protecting her own life, she took the life of another. Perhaps the guilt she must live with is a greater punishment than any sentence she can receive. Comtesse de Vos was taken from Nemozinet House in cuffs and placed under arrest. Although she initially tried to plead her innocence, Inga, along with a number of other girls that the Comtesse had found employment for, came forward and made full statements. She was charged with 5 counts of blackmail and extortion and sent to a house of corrections, where she will have a new life to become accustomed to. Monsieur Sterling and Mademoiselle Rihanna were also reprimanded for their participation. While they may not be facing time in prison, tampering with a crime scene and obstruction of a police investigation are certainly not something that houses and new employers will look positively on. Mademoiselle Angeline finally became Madame Demire, and together they took up residence in England, where Monsieur Demire continues to support and fight for fairness and equality in London. I am happy to say that we have remained in contact, and Madame Demire has become a regular correspondent of mine. And the latest joyous news is that they are expecting a child of their own. After Madame Vandenbosch's secret was revealed to the world, her position in the social hierarchy was no more, disappearing in a moment. While she still resides in Belgium, I believe she has had to adapt to a far more modest way of life. A humbling experience for her, I am sure. Madame Demire has not mentioned her maman in a single letter. After the discovery of her real father and how she had been lied to for so many years, I am not surprised if her departure from Belgium was somewhat an act of separation from her maman. Mademoiselle Conrad left Nemozinet House the same way she entered, confident in herself and audacious in her opinions. Her report of the Major's murder at the house and the surrounding blackmails became one of the most talked about stories of the year. While there were certain details of her own involvement that did not make it to print, she was really quite complimentary about the detective at the heart of the case. Monsieur da Silva tried to continue in his position as factory owner and business entrepreneur, but after his accounts and business dealings were investigated following the details of his blackmail being made public in Mademoiselle Conrad's article, his illustrious business empire began to crumble and is now facing an international corporate investigation. Monsieur Becker stepped down from his position as union leader, accepting that he was no longer fit to represent the workforce that, in his words, he had let down on a scale of unmeasurable proportion. Although he is no longer the voice of the workers, he continues to support them from behind the scenes. Monsieur Zachariah and his brother made amends, and returning to his family home, and after sobering up, he was able to find the help that he required. I understand that he is now helping fellow soldiers with similar conditions. And Mademoiselle Elizabeth. She stood before a court and was found guilty of second-degree murder. She was sentenced to time in a female correctional house on the outskirts of the city. Alone in a foreign country with no friends or family for support, it will certainly be a hard life for her there. Her mental and physical strength will surely be tested to their limits, but she could not go unpunished. Without repercussions, we would become a society of animals. The death of Elizabeth's beloved Luc has been at the center of everything. Had those in positions to help not acted with only themselves in mind, perhaps he would still be alive today, and the Major would have paid the price for his own crimes in the eyes of the law, not at the blade of a knife. The blood of Major Felix Egan will remain on Elizabeth's hands. A stain that wherever she is and whatever she may do, she will never be able to wash clean. However, it will remain as a reminder to not only her, but all of us, of what we as human beings are capable of to protect ourselves. We all have something that may be considered shameful or sinful, and it is how we deal with it that shows our true character. Those involved in the riots, the workers' deaths, and the Major's killing believed themselves to be untouchable. Whether it was from their social standing or their confidence in themselves, they learned that everyone is accountable for their actions. There is no exemption because of the suit you wear or the money in your bank account. There is no price to a man's life. It cannot be bought or traded or discarded. No man is better than another, including Detective Hercule Poirot.
はい。ということで、アガサ・クリスティ、エルキュール・パロ、ザ・ファースト・ケーシーズ、エンドでございます。なるほど。エリザベスは有罪になってしまいましたが、第2級で。 これはちょっとマルチエンドなのかどうなのかっていうのがわからないんだけれども、多分おそらく、マルチエンドではなかったと信じたい。まあただ、ね、ちょっとこう、エルネストがね、だいぶ突っかかってきたものに私が、挑発されてしまって、ちょっとね、選択を連続でミスってはしまったものの、何なんだろうね、こう、まあ、何なんだろうね、何かをやってしまった人たちには、それなりの報いが、降りたっていうような、今回は結末にはなりましたね。まあ、やっぱり、どうしても気持ち的には、ね、エリザベスは正当防衛だろうっていうね、そこの説を、やっぱりどうしても押したかったんだけれども、まあ、そこは、なかなかうまくいかない。もしかしたら、ね、こういう時代っていう背景がまだ若干残ってたから、なのかもしれないし、私が選択をミスったからかもしれないし、そこはちょっと何とも言えないんだけれども、ただまあ、多分ポアロが、全編通して言いたかったのは、多分こういうことに、感情だったりとかね、先入観に支配されるなっていうことをね、やっぱ言いたかったんだなっていうのは思うの。多分そういう人だよね。そういう人というか、だよね。ポアロだよね。それがね。まあ、ポアロに関しては、まあ、劇場版のね、オリエント急行殺人事件とかね、もう見させていただいてたので、まあ、なんか多分、こんな感じだろうなっていう。やっぱりこう自分のやっぱ信念っていうものをね、やっぱりちゃんとこう持って、ずっと最後までやっていた人だなっていう印象はありましたと。だからまあ今回の、ね、ポアロにとっての初事件っていうのも、それを思い出させるようなね、ポアロっていう人物をね、思い出させるような、まあ、事件だったかなと。来年の2月ぐらいにね、なりますけれども、ナイル殺人事件、私はね、非常に楽しみにしておりますので、まあ、すでにね、もうブルーレイとかね、レンタルされてるようなオリエント急行殺人事件、ぜひね、気になった方は見ていただいて、私のね、このゲームをね、しっかり見ていただいて、ね、それを踏まえた上でナイル殺人事件のね、ポアロを見ていただくと、ね、何かこう、思うところがあったりするのかなというふうに思っております。まあまあ、なんかね、私の中では最後の最後で、フロレット登場とかね。そのあたりちょっと期待してたんですけど、まあでも最後、ああやってこう、なんて言うんだろうな、罪のない人間なんていないんだよっていうね、形で、こう、各々が自分自身を、まあ見つめ直すきっかけになれたのは、まあ良かったのかな、なんていうふうにね、思ったりしました。はい。ということで、まあちょっとね、長らく遊ばせていただきましたよ。これもう本当にね、日を置いて、長い時間、楽しませていただいた、作品でございました。本当にじっくりね、やらせていただきました。非常に楽しかったです。カットはね、ほとんどしてないんですけれども、ぜひね、こう、多分見てるよりもやった方がね、圧倒的に、楽しいと思いますので、もしね、気になってお手に取る機会があったらですね、私は論破できなかったエルネスト、ね、ぜひ皆さん論破していただければなというふうに思います。ということで、アガサ・クリスティ、エルキュール・ポアロ、ザ・ファースト・ケーシーズ、これにてエンドでございます。ね、ちょっと寂しい気持ちもありますけれども、また違う作品で、お会いできることを、私は楽しみにしております。それでは、はい。もうここからもうニューゲームなんだね。危ないね。これもう取り逃しとかしてたらもう続きからできなかっただろうね。はい。ということで、また次回はね、別の作品でお会いできるのを楽しみにしております。それでは、バイバイ。